Welcome to Season 2 of the Maine Podcast, where small businesses join together to think outside the box and learn how to roll with the punches and stay in the fight. We invite you to tune in whether you're a skeptic, on the fence, or have many years creating Maine-made products. Let's keep that entrepreneurial fire burning strong as we put Maine on the map with the Maine Podcast. All right, welcome to the Maine Podcast. Today we have Derek Volk with us. He's the owner of the Volk Packaging Corporation. It's a third-generation, family-owned and operated corrugated box manufacturer from Biddeford, Maine. He's been working at Volk Packaging since high school, and he's been running the company for 20 years. Derek is a Maine businessman. He's a best-selling author, a former radio personality, and nationally recognized public speaker. Derek has been married to Amy Volk for 31 years, and Amy is also, she was a former state Senate assistant majority leader. She served 4 terms in the Maine legislature and authored landmark legislation to address human trafficking, as well as legislation benefiting women in recovery and protecting children from devastating lead poisoning. Amy and Derek now live in Saco and are proud parents of 4 children. They've enjoyed following their daughter Lily and the rest of the Maine Black Bear softball team around the country. And so without further ado, we have Derek Volk joining us on the show. Hey, Derek.
How are you today?
Doing pretty good. We had a very, very busy day here at Box of Maine. We're just going around all over the state, picking up products. Sometimes we have people ship the product to us, but sometimes it makes sense to just pick it up. And I'm sure you know all about, bringing in product and getting it out.
Yeah, you spent the day visiting my customers.
Yeah. So you guys have been around for a very long time, and I'm just so glad to be able to come across you guys and be able to work with you directly, get your boxes. Before we were getting them through like Uline, and but to be able to join together with another Maine company and just supporting each other and just getting a great quality product for even a better price. So thank you so much for that.
Glad to be working with you.
Yeah, so I want people to know a little bit more about Derek. I got to take a tour of the building a little while back here, and boy, was I blown away with the rich history of this company and just the such a big impact that you've made, not only in your community, but also the state of Maine in general, starting as a small business and all the expansions and growth. But we're going to dive into that a little bit, but let's get to know you a little bit more. So I got a few questions. One, I want to know where you met your wife. Do you remember where you guys first met? And do you remember your first date?
Yeah, I remember both of those. Yeah. So we met at a church pool party.
A pool party?
Yeah, church pool party for her youth group. And my best friend went to church with her. So I crashed the pool party, and that's where I originally met her.
Did you have your shirt on, or was it off?
Oh no, my shirt was off, but I was 14, so it wasn't anything too impressive.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, and then we had our first date about 9 months later, and we've been together ever since.
You guys have a favorite place that you like to go eat, or is it somewhere you still go to today?
But from back in those days, no. But we moved to Saco 2 years ago.
Yep.
So we've been having a lot of fun the last couple of years exploring York County. We'd spent all our life in Portland and Scarborough, so we raised our kids, and then we moved to Saco. Realized, geez, there's a whole nother group of restaurants and places to go. So we've been enjoying that the last couple of years.
Isn't that interesting? I was born and raised in Bangor, Maine, and you get to know the restaurants in your city and maybe a couple smaller cities surrounding you. But then you go to maybe the coastal towns, or for me, it was Southern Maine. When we go to Southern Maine, it's like, wow, there's so many more places to visit and restaurants to eat at. Do you guys have a favorite restaurant? Do you know one specifically?
We really like Babson River Brewing in Kennebunk, and they have the best lobster rolls.
All right. Shout
So,
out
yeah,
Babson River Brewing.
yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we have Sea Dog up here. I see a lot of these brewing companies, these little pubs. You go in, they got some great foods, lobster rolls and Reuben sandwiches, and just a great place to hang out and get some good food. So that's awesome.
Yeah,
So
I Sea Dog Brewing was
yeah,
my customer back when they started up in Camden.
so they
It
started.
was
It wasn't in the Bangor one. Wasn't the first one.
no, that all uh, the restaurants I believe didn't start until Shipyard bought them
That's right.
and started opening up restaurants. But I called on them and sold them their first boxes.
All right.
Gosh, mid '90s.
And so yeah, that's what's really shocking is a lot of times you probably you wouldn't even know what companies are using your boxes, or at least for me, some of the companies that I do business with, you're like, oh yeah, we make boxes for them, and we, unless you flip it over and you can see the Volk
Yeah,
trademark on the bottom or something, or so, a lot of your boxes are customized, and we'll talk about the process on that. But it's just it's kind of blows me away that how much you guys are out there in the state, not just in the state of Maine, but other places in the country too, where people can find your boxes. So speaking about out of the country or out of the state, how about some favorite places to visit? Do you guys have some places out of state that you like to go and visit every year? Bring the kids, the family, or maybe it's just you and the wife. Maybe you're getting away from the kids.
well, our favorite place on earth is our camp. So
Yeah.
we have a camp in Lee, Maine, which is about an hour north of Bangor, and we just love it up there. It's been in my wife's family for several generations.
Yeah.
We just built a house up there right behind the camps because we needed more room for hopefully grandkids pretty soon, and that's our escape. And then we have a condo in Costa Rica that we like to go.
Okay. Now you're
Yeah,
taking it out of the country now.
yeah, we love it there.
But it's this wasn't a question that I had for you, Derek, but it's come to my mind. I want to ask it as how important is it for you to take a break from business and to get out and take the family out on a vacation and to unplug, try to unplug it. It can be tough to refresh and just, spend that time away.
Yeah, it is hard. It's really hard. The last couple of years, it's got a little easier because I finally got myself an assistant after 25 years.
Wow.
So that's been just wonderful because when I go away, last year we celebrated our 30th wedding anniversary, and
Congrats.
we went to Ireland and Scotland for 10 days, and I just disconnected. I didn't check. Nobody thought I was going to do it. Everybody thought, oh, no, you're not going to do that. I said, yeah, I am. I'm telling you. And I went 10 days. I didn't check my phone. I didn't check my email. It was just wonderful. And, I get some of that when we go to Costa Rica. There's Wi-Fi everywhere these days. So
Yeah.
it becomes too easy to check your phone. But I did a couple of years ago, I bought myself a backup phone. I call it my vacation phone. And only a couple people at work have the number, and it doesn't have
Yeah.
email on it. It's pretty much just a phone. So that's nice because sometimes I just put my phone away. Like when I go to my daughter's softball games, I just put my actual phone away, get my vacation phone, and nobody bothers me.
And at first time hearing that, it may seem drastic to some, but when you're running a business and there's so many things that you have your hands in, you have to be intentional. At least this is what I'm finding out. I'm still fairly new to this thing, but you have to be intentional on these things. And I have, a young family, and they just want dad time. And hearing your stories and meeting you, I can tell that you are very, very involved with your children and the growing up in sports and all of that. And so when I'm home, they want my time, and so I got to get off that phone, stop checking those emails, because you're right, it becomes so easy to just check something real quick. So I'm working on that, but it's good to hear that you've got those things in place, and I'm gonna keep trying at it. That's the goal, right? To spend
Yeah,
time with the family.
you got to do it. Fortunately, there weren't smartphones when my kids were little, at least my
Right.
older kids, which was nice. Just go home at the end of the day and that was it. You were home at the end of the day. When I started, I didn't even have a computer in my house. So,
Oh boy. So why don't we talk about when you first started? What did that look like? I know that could be a pretty big story, but give us a good summary on where it started. How do you do all the things without emails and computers, with all these robotics, all this electronic stuff that you have now that can speed up the process? What did it look like?
so I started working here when I was in high school. I would come in after school, and back then it wasn't as big a deal. Today you have to be 18 to work in the plant, even my own kids. But I went out there at 16 and maybe even younger, and worked after school. They'd set up a machine, and I would just feed the machine for a couple hours and then go home. I was kind of on the fence whether I wanted to join the family business or not.
Mhm.
Kind of went back and forth on it through college, and then finally, I think in my junior year of college, I decided that it was a direction I wanted to head. So I joined the business right after college. Originally, my father's plan was to send me to California. He had a friend in California that owned a box plant in Modesto, California. His plan was to send me out to California for a few years, learn the business out there, and then come back and join the family business. Now that was in place until we had our son. And then all of a sudden he realized, I don't know if I want my grandson 3,000 miles away.
Yeah.
And he also realized that my wife and I really like summer. And if we went to Modesto, California, we might not come back, which was probably pretty accurate. So it was a good call. I ended up joining the business, and instead of working somewhere else, he sent me on a lot of trips to visit other box companies to learn the business.
Right. So you don't get that special privilege. You need to put in the work, put in the time. That's sweat equity. I like it, and get to know how to do this first before you start, moving your way up. And it sounds like you started out just being a grunt worker, or, laborer, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And, but
Yeah. I
you put
worked
in
here all
time.
through college. My wife worked here all through college. Summer vacations, Christmas break, we'd come down and work. And I think it's funny because when I told my father when I was, I don't know, 15 to 16, I wanted to get a job. And he said, well, just come down to the office. And I said, well, I don't want some,
Yeah.
made up job. I want an actual job. So I said, if I'm going to come down there, I want to work in the plant. And that's what I did. I worked in the plant. I kind of surprised that my 16-year-old self was thinking that far ahead, but I thought if I ever run the company, I want people to know that I started out there with them. And there's still quite a few people here that remember me back then. So
Right. So you
that
want
was a
to
long time ago.
come alongside them and work together with them,
Yeah, pay my dues.
pay your dues.
So
I feel
I
like
did that.
that's how it was back then, right? It's you got
Yeah,
to show yourself worthy and that you can handle it.
yeah, yeah. And then uh, went on the road for a few years as a sales rep for 4.5 years.
Okay,
And
changing it up a
and
little bit, selling, got to
yeah,
get
yeah,
accounts.
yeah, really enjoyed that. And then in 1996, I became sales manager. That's when I came into the office.
All right, so you're in the office now and a little bit of a different environment. How about the team aspect of it? How was the team when you joined it, compared to now? What are some things that have changed, that you see on a daily basis?
Well, of course, the people have changed in most cases. Uh, Actually, I have the same CFO I had in 1994.
Wow.
He's been here since 1994. And there are some people that have been here that long. But my general manager retired a few years ago. My operations manager retired. So as my designer, when I started, we have a new designer, although our designer now has been here 25 years. Time flies. So there's been a lot of transitions with people. Of course, the technology, like we
Right.
talked about earlier, has just been dramatically different. I remember when my customer service manager showed me the first fax machine, And he's like, take this piece of paper and you stick it in here, you dial a number, and then the same thing comes out on the other end. And I
I
remember
still don't
I was
understand
like,
how that happens,
I
but
was like, no, it doesn't. That doesn't happen. It was very futuristic at the time.
yeah.
So that of course now
It's
everything
gone.
is just
What's a
so.
fax machine?
Yeah. I haven't used, apparently we still have a fax machine, which I just learned recently. I don't even know how to use it. I haven't sent a fax. I can't even remember the last time I sent a fax. But it's the technology's changed. Of
Yeah.
course, a lot of the people have changed. We've grown significantly. We're probably, well, we'll probably be this, by the end of this year, we'll be 4 times the size of when I became sales manager.
Yeah.
Um,
So how do you
and
go along with those changes? Like you either change as technology and as the generations change and the way to do business, or you just settle for the basics, right? Just being content. How do you press forward and get that growth and keep up with the growth?
it's challenging. It's challenging. And we're in a huge growth stage right now, which you wouldn't think a 54-year-old manufacturing
Right.
company based in Maine that depends on Northern New England manufacturing, not really the greatest place for manufacturing, would be growing after 54 years. But last year we had our 12th straight year of growth. We're already way ahead of last year. And, knock on wood, we'll have our 13th straight year of growth this year. It's just been incredible. I have an unbelievable team here that allows me to do what I do and at the same time enjoy some time away, which at this stage of my life,
Sure.
I want that time away. I want that freedom that it allows me. Never more than a phone call away unless I'm disconnected. And even then, if somebody really needed me, they could always track me down. But things just change and you have to go along with it. It's change or die, basically. Got to get used to, you have to, somebody recently I was with said, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Right.
And I think
I've
that was a great way to put
embraced
it.
that. I've tried to embrace that, not just in business, but in other areas of life. And then just trying to, I don't want to say content, but just being complacent and just settling for the minimum instead of like, let's push ourselves past our abilities and see what goes from there. And it sounds like you guys have done a lot of that, diversifying. And just one thing that I noticed was that seems like there's always something going on to kind of keep things fresh and exciting with the employees, whether it's, some kind of in-house event that's going on, some kind of prizes and competition, and just the morale. How important is that? And, are you thinking up a bunch of ideas to kind of keep things fresh with them?
Yeah, that's really important here at Volk Packaging. Our culture is something that we take very seriously. It's very important to us. The fact is most people don't wake up in the morning at any point in their life and say, boy, if I could just make boxes, my life would be complete. So, it's not always the most exciting job in the world. So we try to make it a fun place to work. We work hard. It's funny, people on Facebook, they'll see some of the things we do and they'll be like, do you guys ever work?
Yeah.
But we do. People work very hard here. And we like to try to reward that with some breaks, with some fun things to do. We have horseshoe competitions and cornhole competitions.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, our biggest one is our corrugated Olympics that we do every year. Every time there's an Olympics, we have our own Olympics. We have indoor and outdoor, Olympics based on whether it's a winter or summer Olympic season. So those are a lot of fun. Everybody looks forward to those. We take 2 weeks at lunch every day, and we have competitions that are only corrugated based. So we have corrugated shot put, corrugated basketball, corrugated ping pong. It's a lot of fun.
And so the idea is if I can create a fun and exciting workplace, then my employees will be, they'll want to come to work. They feel that appreciation and they want to work hard for the company, right? Is that?
Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, people people work really hard here. We've been working 10-hour days for months. And that's, that's really hard on people. And a lot of Saturdays, a lot of people, we're in here a lot of times on Saturdays. We're actually talking right now. We have a meeting on Monday about going to 3 shifts.
Wow.
And right now we're a 2-shift operation, which is challenging in and of itself, because a lot of the activities that we do are during the day.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you integrate second shift into a lot of those activities?
Right.
And that can be challenging. 3 shifts would be even more challenging.
Yeah, because then you have within the employees, I guess, well, why does this person, you start having the, eternal affairs or whatever you'd want to call it. Why do they get to do all those things during the day and at night it's boring and there's nothing going on type of thing, right?
Exactly. So that's been an ongoing challenge as we try to make sure that the second shift doesn't feel left out of any of those activities. We try to coordinate them. Like when we have last summer, we had a horseshoe competition, and, we would have matches right when the shift change. That way, second shift people could be actively involved instead of just doing everything at lunch like we always used to do. So you have to be creative.
Yep.
Oops. Sorry, someone is trying to do something there on my phone. You have to be creative and figure out what people want to do. Sometimes we do things and they're a complete bust, and sometimes we do them and people love them and they want to do them every year.
Not everything can be a hit,
Yeah, not everything's a hit.
But I see that. So you take the time, you put in some effort to do things like that for the employees. I know that I love that with certain companies that I work for do that. They show their appreciation. And then it sounds like you also take time to do stuff for the community as well. What are some things that you've done for the community that has had a really good response?
Well, we've always been a very active corporate citizen. That's something that we've been doing for a long, long time. I think we've upped it quite a bit in the last few years. But we've been sponsoring a Little League team since 1975.
I thought about doing that this year. Yeah.
Multiple Little League teams. So we've had as many as 4 or 5 Little League teams. And that's been something we've been very proud of, that we've been actively involved in Little League for 46 years now. And we do a lot with veterans organizations. You saw our Heroes Wall, which we built in 2018. We put up a Heroes Wall to honor veterans, active members, and people that have served in the past or people that are no longer with us. That wall is 50 feet long and 7 feet tall. And right now there are somewhere around 500 veterans honored on the wall. We have room for a couple hundred more. And that's something that first of all, it became much bigger than I ever anticipated it was going to be. And it's something that I think is a legacy that's going to outlive me. That wall is going to be here long after I'm gone, long after, who knows, Volk Packaging may be gone, but that wall is going to be out there for whoever owns this building. Could, maybe, hopefully it'll be me, but who knows? And it's something really special for the community. People come here and sometimes I'll look out and I'll just see a veteran just sitting out there. We have benches and we have veterans out there just sitting and just kind of spending some time alone at the wall. So that's been something that's really been something that we really find is extremely rewarding.
Yeah, I can imagine. So it definitely was touching to me. My father served in the Navy in Vietnam, and I was telling him about it, and I know other people that have had their hand and have been involved with it, and it has been really awesome. So I love that, and it just inspires me as a young man and young in business to reach out to my community and do the Little League things and see how I can play a part. And I love that. That's very inspiring. So thank you for sharing that and paving the way. So let's jump into the operations of the business. How does it flow? I got to see the tour, and there was a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of people coming back and forth. You got paperboard coming in, and then all these machines. How does it work?
So we're what's called a sheet plant, which means that the board comes to us in sheets, flat sheets, and then we cut it, fold it, glue it, print it, do whatever needs to be done to turn it into a box. We own the company that makes the sheets. That's called the sheet feeder. And we have 5 partners down there in our sheet feeder, which is in Worcester, Mass, just outside of Worcester, in Northborough, Mass. The sheets come up to us, we turn it into a box, and then we ship it out. We have 100 people here. We're at 106 right now, unless they hired somebody today, which they may have. Right now we're looking for probably somewhere between 7 and 10 people still.
Wow.
We're continuing to grow. We're continuing, as you saw, our new machine. We have a brand new machine in that just got up and running this year, and toward the end of last year. That's been just incredible. I have another major piece of machinery on order. It's hard. They're huge investments. They're very, very big investments, but it's kind of buy or die. Like if you don't buy more equipment and you don't keep up, then you're not going to make it. So it's a very competitive business. We're competing against billion-dollar companies every single day. So we have to continue to invest in the company if we want it to grow.
And now those are some big decision making. Some really seems like some high risk but high reward, trying to stay ahead of the game. How do you do that? How do you make those decisions? You guys sit down as a team together and try to plan it out when it comes to getting one of these big, huge $1 million machines?
It's a lot of meetings, a lot of discussion.
Yeah.
We the machine that you saw that we've put in just recently, I think we spent a year and a half looking for a machine. I traveled all over the country, seeing different options, different machine manufacturers, ended up narrowing it down, settling it down. And ultimately the decision is mine. The buck stops here. The risk is mine. The personal guarantees on the building.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about
that's all mine. So I take the input from everybody, but at the end of the day, I'm the one who has to either pull the trigger or not pull the trigger.
Man, let's talk about that. Have you pulled the trigger when you shouldn't have pulled the trigger? And any big mistakes? I mean, let's be honest, you've been with the company for what, 30, 40 years or something. And I got to think that there's been some big mistakes. Is there anything that you would do differently?
Yeah, there's always things that you would do differently. Even the layout of this building, if I would do it today, I would have set it up a little differently than we did when we moved here in 1998, because we moved into the building that I'm in right now in 1998. But hindsight's 2020. So you try not to look back and do have too many regrets. There are some machines that we've purchased over the years that maybe haven't been the greatest, but you just keep moving along. You can't dwell on those things. You got to make the most of it. If the machine doesn't work out well, then ride it for as long as you can till you're ready, and then sell it and get something else.
So some of those older machines compared to the newer machines, what's the difference? Some of the older ones can do 100 boxes per minute, and then the new stuff is a lot, like 2-3 times faster.
Yeah. So the machine that you saw that we just put in, we have orders that we're running now that take 45 minutes that used to take 5 hours.
Wow.
So it's
what's that look like for cost savings? Just throw out a number, like you're saving thousands, $10,000s of dollars.
It's hard to tell because it's not on a big scale like that. It's kind of order by order, looking at what you're saving. We're passing on a lot of those savings to customers because we can run the boxes faster. We can run them more efficiently. That helps us as we go forward when we have things like price increases. We can absorb a little more and not pass as much on to the customer. Right now, everything is going up.
Right.
Every day I get an email that something is going up. It's just incredible. And it's gonna, including your boxes, right? And, I'm a little concerned about that. I'm a little concerned about when that's going to hit the economy, between a $2 trillion stimulus package and companies, the supply and demand being what it is right now. People still kind of recovering from COVID. Everything is going up. Foam, plastic, everything is going up. Core paper is going up.
Yep.
And, eventually that's going to hit the consumer. It has to. So you're going to see some inflation, I think, come end of this year toward next year. There's only so much that companies are going to be able to absorb. So you just, you look at the machines and you make a calculated risk, and then you either pull the trigger or you don't pull the trigger. That's what it ultimately comes down to. And so just to back up a little, give you a little idea on my thought process as we buy machinery. There are two things that happen in my career that have impacted my decision making on a major piece of machinery like that.
Yep.
And I'll tell you those two things. They were two very different things. One of them, when I was 22 years old, I just started full-time, just graduated from college, went to play golf with my father, and we're at the course, and we're getting ready to play, and a guy comes over, and he owns a moving company in the Portland area. My father introduced me, said, "Hi, this is so-and-so. This is Derek. He's going to be the third generation to run the company." And the guy looks at me and he says, "Oh, so you're the one who's going to run it into the ground."
Ooh.
And I was like, "Excuse me?" And he said, "Oh yeah, typical story, rags to riches to rags. First generation starts it, on second generation brings it up to where it needs to, where you want it, and then third generation drives it right into the ground." So I'm determined to never prove that guy right. It's become my life mission to,
Yeah.
I will do whatever it takes to not prove that guy right. So it was a one comment, kind of off the cuff thing,
Yeah.
but it had a real lasting impact on me. So that was one. The other one was in 1998, we decided to buy a major piece of equipment. It was $3 million in 1998. So that's a big investment. Our company was significantly smaller. As I mentioned, our company was significantly smaller than it is now. It was a tremendous investment for us, huge risk. Right after we bought it, we went into the recession, the early 2000 recession, and then 9/11 happened. And the phones were like crickets. We heard, everything just stopped. In between the time that we bought the machine and the machine arrived, we lost the three biggest customers that we had on that machine. One of them moved, one of them went out of business, and one of them we lost to a competitor, which we've since got that business back, by the way. So all of a sudden, we have this $3 million, it's called a jumbo flexo, this massive piece of machinery, and we're running it 2 hours a day.
Oof.
And
Not enough.
that single decision almost put us out of business. We started hemorrhaging. We couldn't make money. We couldn't figure out how to make money. We had so much debt. Our debt to equity ratio was 26-1. 26-1. Now you go find any banker in America, and you ask them if they had a client that was 26-1, if they were going to make it. And I guarantee you that very few people would say, "Oh yeah, that company's going to pull out of that." And our bank did not think we were going to make it. We were with Fleet Bank at the time, and they put us in workout. So for those who aren't familiar, workout is when the bank basically wants to work you out of their portfolio.
That's not good.
or they want to work you out of business.
Yeah.
Very few
Whichever
companies
comes
make
first.
it out of workout. Very few companies get out of workout without going Chapter 11. A lot of them go Chapter 7, which is complete liquidation. We had a gentleman from Rhode Island, which was where Fleet was based, come up, tour the building. He was their head workout guy. and showed him all around the building, showed him all the things that we were doing. We had literally pulled out every third light bulb. So now we all have LED lights, but back then we had actual fluorescent light bulbs in every light that in my office and all throughout the building. And we said, we don't need that much light.
Oh,
we can
man.
save we can
Save
save
some
some money.
That sounds like me right now.
Yeah, we can save some money. And we pulled every third light bulb out of every light fixture. And my father had this beautiful, beautiful fish tank, salt, like 100-gallon saltwater fish tank that he'd spent years building up. I think he had coral in it for like 2 years before the first fish went in it. We're sitting looking over some costs, trying to figure out where can we cut costs. There's only so many places. You can't cut your way to profitability. You can cut to an extent, but at some point you need revenue.
Yeah.
But we're looking at every way we could possibly cut. We're looking through the list of all our vendors, and I come across this vendor that I didn't recognize. I'm like, what are we spending $1,500 a quarter on for this company? I never even heard of them. And my CFO kind of paused for a little bit, and he's like, that's your father's fish tank.
Oh.
And my father was he was in Florida most of the year at that point. And the fish tank had been moved to the lobby, and I sold the fish tank.
Oh, man.
So I had to call my father and tell him.
I have so many questions I want to ask, but we're running out of time.
Yeah. So my two decisions, when I make a major decision like that, of course, we do all the financial analysis. My CFO, does projections out for 5 years, worst case scenario projections, the whole thing. But ultimately, it comes down to two things. Am I going to prove that guy right, that I'm going to run this company into the ground? And am I going to end up pulling out light bulbs? Because I don't ever want to pull out light bulbs again. So when we're looking at the machine, actually, and we're about to get the deal on the machine, I told the guy, the machine company, I said, well, this is going to be a light bulb decision for us. And he laughed. He said, you mean a light bulb's going to have to go off in your head? I said, nope. I said, I need to know that if I buy this machine, even in a worst case scenario, I'm not pulling light bulbs out of the ceiling again, because I don't ever want to get back there again. Yeah. So that's how we do it.
But it sounds like you learn, you're learning.
We learned a lot.
Yeah.
We learned a lot from that. That experience was not enjoyable in any way, but we learned an awful lot about how to get through tough times. And when the COVID hit last year, I was, as nervous as anybody, but I was like, we can get through this.
Yep.
But it was pretty rough last year.
Yeah. So if somebody wants to start working with you guys, say they have a small startup, because we're the Maine podcast, we have a lot of small businesses that are that we work with and that are listening in. How do they start working with Volk if they want to get some boxes?
Well, the easiest way to do is give us a call or go to our website, volkboxes.com. So if you go to volkboxes.com, you can email us right from there. And those emails all come to me. I then get them to a sales rep, and the sales rep comes in and helps you figure out what it is that you need and how to get you to the next level. We deal with a lot of startups, a lot of companies trying to figure out what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, and they don't really know. A lot of times, because the box is the last thing that they do before they ship their product, sometimes it's the last thing they think about.
But it should be, to be honest with you, it should be switched around. And that's my problem, is I put it off for so long. I go and look, I'm like, why am I spending $4 a box for the past 3 years? And you guys were so willing to sit down and help me out. And I've cut that, I've cut it more than in half. And so thousands and thousands of dollars are being saved now. So I thank you so much for taking the extra time and working with the small business when you really don't have to, but you guys remember where you came from, and I look forward to growing with you guys. So thank you so much.
We love what you're doing.
Yeah.
We've been good customers. My wife, every time we get a chance to send something to somebody, my wife gets on your website.
And your dad, your father too. So
yeah, that's great. So we like working with companies. We started with Tom's of Maine when they were working in that barn, and we started with IDEX when David Shaw was in an apartment in downtown Portland. We love to grow with companies, and we're Maine owned. So we're Maine owned. We're the only Maine owned box company. So when you buy your boxes in Maine, the money stays right here in Maine, gets reinvested in the community, gets reinvested by employees who go out for dinner and go do things around town, and buy things for their families, and that money all just keeps rotating around Maine, and that's the way we like it. So we have over 1,000 customers, and ranging from very, very large Fortune 500 companies to companies that are just getting something started off the ground. But yeah, you don't want to wait till the end. I learned that lesson when I was in high school. We had a little retail operation that people could drive up and just buy some boxes if they were moving.
Nice.
And
the hustle.
Yeah. And small companies could come and just buy something from us if they just needed some just generic boxes.
Right.
So this older gentleman comes in, and he had a table that he had created, this oak table. It was beautiful. And he had it on the back of his truck, and he's showing it to me, and I measured it, and it was like 2 inches beyond what you could ship by UPS.
Oh yeah.
And I said, you're going to have to ship this by common carrier. It's going to be expensive. No, I'll ship it by UPS. I said, no, it's not it's too big. And he got all worked up, got mad at me. And I'm like, dude, I'm not the one who made a bunch of tables before I checked out how big they could be to ship UPS. But I was like 17 years old, and he's yelling at me, and it was a good lesson to, you want to jump on that box decision early.
Yeah, especially if you're sending gift boxes all over the world, it's good to know, the dimensions and everything. Get it dialed in, get those costs figured out right away. And man, today with so much online purchasing,
right? There's a lot of things that we can do with graphics that we couldn't do before. The new machine that we have coming in probably September, October, that's going to be awesome. You're going to love it. Because that machine is a 6-color machine. It'll be 4 colors on the outside, and we can print 2 colors on the inside.
Right.
So when people open the box, we can have printing on the inside too. Right now, we have to do that in 2 passes, so it's expensive. So we're very excited for this. In fact, I just had a sales rep right before. Actually, it was Josh, who works with you. Right before I walked in, we were talking about a thing, and a customer, and he's like, oh my God, I can't wait for that die cutter. I said, yeah, we all can't wait for that die cutter. So that's very exciting.
Put me on the list on the people to call when it comes in.
Oh, you will be. You'll be one of the first ones.
But, just that whole process of trying to figure out what box to make, printing plates, die cuts, it's quite a bit for a small guy, a small person here. And it was a lot to chew, some initial startup costs. But when you really look at it and you break it down, you guys have well-trained sales reps, and they're very knowledgeable. They're willing. You guys are very flexible. That's really what, made me pull the trigger on getting it done. And it's one of the biggest and best decisions I've made so far. So thanks for pushing me along there and helping me realize I need to save some money, and this is how you can do it.
Yeah, I'm very, very blessed. I have an incredible sales team.
Yeah.
I'm in a CEO group with other box owners. So there's 8 of us from around the country. We get together 2 or 3 times a year. Well, before COVID, now we do it virtually. It's not as much fun. And we spend 2 or 3 days just talking about our business. And because the box business is very regional, so if I'm talking to somebody in Philadelphia or in Kalamazoo, Michigan, or Fort Worth, Texas, that's some of the guys in my group. We're never going to compete. We'll never compete with each other. So we can just lay it out there, share all our best practices, what we're doing, how much we're paying people. We can share all that information. That has been just one of the best things I ever did, was join that group.
That's a great resource. One of the questions I was going to ask you is, are there any resources that have helped you along on your journey. And it sounds like that's one of them. Get people that are like-minded, maybe in the similar business field that aren't competitors, and being able to open up and share struggles, mistakes, but also successes.
That is probably one of the single best decisions that I've made in my career, was to join that group. I've learned so much. I've become such a better CEO from understanding what other people do, what we do, what they do well. And in fact, I just had one of the guys in our group is in Philadelphia, in the Philadelphia area. And we're working on a big project with him. And one of my sales reps wanted to go down and check it out. And 5 of my sales reps went down. They all took a road trip. Yeah. They all went down. They visited his plant. They loved it and learned a lot. There's a lot of businesses, you can't do that. You can't go visit another company in your industry because you might compete with each other. But we never compete with each other. So it's been great. And one of the great things that one of the great things I got out of that group is I've learned how great my team is and how great my sales department is. When we go to these meetings and the topic of sales come up and they start complaining about their sales rep, that's when I usually check Facebook, because I don't really have anything to add to that conversation. My sales reps do a fantastic job. So I don't have a lot of those issues that some of the other people do. So I'm very lucky that way. And, I just have an incredible team of people here that are very committed to the company. And, they've been here. I mean, there are people, last year we had 40 anniversaries. This year we have another 40th anniversary. Wow. Those people have been here since I was, 9-10 years old. So it's really a special atmosphere. And I've been working here for, 29 years since I graduated from college. And in those 29 years, I could probably count on my hands the number of days that I've got up and didn't really want to come to work. Yeah. A couple of them were probably during COVID, and a couple of them were after 9/11. But other than that, every day I come in, I love coming in. I love the people I work with. You
want me to I kind of want to start working for you guys. You're hiring, right?
Yeah, we are hiring. And it's funny. Right now it's really hard to find good people. First of all, the government's paying people to not work, which is not helpful. And it's just really hard to find good people. There's a lot of competition. A lot of companies are growing right now. A lot of companies are hiring. You see hiring signs everywhere right now.
Yep.
It's kind of interesting. Maine has been hit hardest than any other state, and yet we can't find people. So, that's not good. But they just gave them out. They just gave everybody a bunch of checks again. So people bought some more time to not work. But we found some really good people. And I was talking to my father the other day, and I was telling him how hard it was to find people, and that Amy was my wife. It was going to take over a lot of the recruiting because my HR people are buried and there's only so much they can do. So Amy took over. She's our communications director, but she kind of stepped in that role. It's a family business, so you just do what you got to do.
Yeah, buddy, you got it.
And I was telling him about that whole process, and he said, "Well, just tell him about the culture and how great it is." And I said, "Dad, you don't think everybody tells every potential employee that it's a great place to work? I mean, I don't think there's too many job interviews you go in where they say, look, we'd love to have you. It's a toxic environment. Everybody is looking out for themselves. Yeah. If you don't look behind you, you might get somebody stabbing you in the back." Nobody says that.
Right.
They all say it's a great place to work.
But you guys have actually been voted the best place to work, I saw. So
we have, yeah. We did that in 2011. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And we're going to do it again this year. So it's been 10 years since we did it. We're going to do it again this year.
So you have any new projects, any new You said you got another machine you're working on getting. What about any other services? You guys, obviously you can make any type of box pretty much people want. What is there anything else that you guys offer?
Yeah, there is. We're actually just launched recently. We started it last August, I guess, September. We call it Volk Pack. So we're Volk Packaging. We call this division Volk Pack, and it's a fulfillment center. So we're doing some work for COVID, where we're packing up some products for COVID. We're about to start a new project with some charcoal. We're working on a project for some benches that one of my sales reps, we just had a meeting, actually the meeting before I came into this one was a meeting about that. They have these stools, I guess they call them stools, and this guy invented them and came up with this great ergonomic, stool, but he's a one-man operation,
right?
And he can't pack all these and store them. He's working out of a very small facility. So my sales rep said, well, we can do that. So they're going to send all the chairs, there's different colors and sizes, and they're going to send them all here. We're going to take in all their product. We'll get their orders. Their orders will come into us. We'll pull them off the shelf, whatever combination they need, put them in the box that we make, and we'll ship them out to their customer.
Almost sounds like we might need to talk a little bit more.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we should. And so I don't want to jinx it, but I'm there. We've come to an agreement, and they're writing the lease right now, today or yesterday. I should sign it hopefully today or Monday.
Another warehouse
to pick up a 98,000 square foot warehouse in Sanford.
98,000?
98,000 square feet.
Good
so we're
grief.
141,000 square feet here. Right now we rent 40,000 square feet in one facility, and we rent about 18,000 square feet in another facility. So this will be able to put everything under one building, under one roof. And it's big. It's a big investment. And they wanted a long-term lease, which I was a little anxious about a long-term lease, because you don't know what's going to happen 4 years down the road. But it's one of those decisions that ultimately I had to make, and I had to pull the trigger on, and I got to put my head on my pillow at night and hope that I made the right one. And I think I did. I think we're going to be fine. And it gives us a lot of opportunity to grow both Volk Packaging, where we can store a lot more product, but because we do warehousing for customers, if they don't have room, we'll run 10,000 boxes and ship them, 1,000 a week for 10 weeks or whatever it is they might need.
Yeah.
So we'll have more room to do that, and we'll have a lot of room to grow the Volk Pack Fulfillment Center. And we're very excited about that.
Great. Awesome. Well,
hopefully we need a lot more hiring.
Right.
Probably a lot of temps, because some of that stuff can kind of ebb and flow, but it's an exciting, we're basically almost starting a whole new business. So we're very excited about it.
Great. Well, it sounds like you got your hands full. I love it. Thanks. Thank you so much for working with us and for working with the community and all the hiring going on, guys. If anybody's listening or watching right now and you need a job in Southern Maine, Biddeford region, make sure you go to say the website again where people can reach you guys.
Volkboxes.com.
Volkboxes.com. So whether you need a job or you need some boxes or you need things packed in a box, they got you covered. So Derek, thank you so much for carving out a little bit of time for us. I look forward to doing continued business with Volk Packaging Corporation. Thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to Season 2 of the Maine Podcast. We hope that you thoroughly enjoyed this episode and would like to ask you to consider sharing it with friends, family, and your business peers. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Also, you can find the Maine Podcast on YouTube, iTunes, GooglePlay, Spotify, and all other digital streaming services. If you would like to financially support the show and be a part of putting Maine on the map, You can subscribe to us on Patreon or email madeandmainepodcast@gmail.com. So shop local, shop small, and save Maine businesses once and for all.